for the NHS-wise. How is he doing as his role as Prime Minister? And the number to call is 074 91 751 203. I've got a caller on line 1 already. Welcome, caller. Who's this?
Hello there.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just about. Who's calling?
Hello. I have been on this show before.
Welcome back. This sounds like the Professor. Professor.
Hello?
Yeah, welcome. What do you make of Boris Johnson and his job dealing with the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, sorry, I thought this is about Boris Becker.
No, different Boris. Yeah, we're talking Boris.
You know Boris Becker. He's a German, former professional tennis player. You know this, yes?
Yeah, well, we wanted to talk about a different Boris. It's Boris Johnson, but thanks very much for the call. There goes someone claiming to be a professor. 07491 751 203 is the number to call if you know anything about Boris Johnson. I've got Craig on the line, returning to the show. Welcome back, Craig. You joined us recently after your rise to fame on Rich Kids Go Homeless. Welcome back, Craig. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, I'm good.
Good man. And you know which Boris we're talking about?
Well, yeah, what's this, Donald Trump's twin brother, Boris Johnson?
Yeah, the people are saying that they're... What are the similarities between Boris Johnson and Donald Trump?
Well, the dumbness for one, like, that stands out, and like the hair for two. Other than that, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely, the brainless. They're brainless. The both of them are brainless.
Why do you say Boris Johnson's brainless?
Well, he's went on about this. Let's lift the lockdown or start. What is it? Say stay alert. Well, I don't know how you can stay alert for a virus because like you can't see it. So like how you can stay alert, I don't know. He's saying people need to return to work and stuff, and yeah, I just think it's crazy. Like we've just had a bank holiday, and obviously people were out enjoying the sun. And
do you think there's a sense that people want to be spoon-fed and instructed exactly what to do? Is he not saying use your common sense? I don't know if that's something you can tell a population as a whole. Be careful out there. But wouldn't it be common sense not to descend upon the parks and the beaches and the holiday destinations around the UK?
Well, we've moved into a new phase where Boris Johnson is now saying that people can leave their house, have unlimited exercise, they can meet for one person for another household, but they need to keep 2 meters apart. And like, if somebody's going on a bus with this other person, it's impossible to keep 2 meters apart on a bus. It's just impossible. So like, there's got to be a rise again, obviously. As I said, with the bank holiday, people are out. There's no doubt that the numbers are falling. More people are leaving hospital with COVID than are coming in. But as I said, we've got a 2-week spike here where I think he's lifting it too early. He's definitely lifting it too early. And getting on to how can you tell a population, like, well, as I said, referring to sheep, there's a lot of being spoon-fed and stuff. Well, some of the population, they need to be spoon-fed because, like, they're just following what this guy's saying. It's as if he's a shepherd and they're the sheep. Like, it's crazy.
Do you think he's making a mistake? Or is he deliberately doing this? Is there something in it for him? Is there something in it for
him? The country's been on lockdown for, I don't know, 6 weeks. Everything's been shut. Transport system's not been making any money. So like the government aren't living on any taxes because nobody's paying taxes. So they're skint. The politicians are feeling it in their pocket now. So if you look at Scotland, Ireland and Wales, like, I'm Scottish myself and I've been watching closely what's happening with my politics, and Nicola Sturgeon is staying outright. She's basically laughing at Boris Johnson saying, we don't care what this guy's saying, our message is stay at home. You know what I mean? So I genuinely think it's because they're feeling it in the pocket, that are saying, well, they're not making any money in it. No, let's just send them back to work. It's money. It's money. It's about money. It's about money. It's about money. It's about money.
Are you proud of Nicola Sturgeon, the way she's handled this?
Well, I've always said Nicola Sturgeon's tough but fair. Like, at the start, I wasn't really, but Nicola Sturgeon's doing brilliant. I would say she's doing amazing, and that's not just me being because I'm Scottish. Like, they're doing good. They're doing good. Well, my dad still lives in Scotland. I talk to my dad every day, and yeah, like, our country's abiding by what people are saying. Like, maybe I don't know. Maybe we've just got me. I don't know. Maybe we think different up the road. I don't know.
Do you think Nicola Sturgeon is guilty of politicising this whole pandemic? Is she not just using it as an excuse to make Scotland do something different from England and therefore further the case for independence?
Well, you actually just took the words right out of my mouth there. I was going to say we're already trying to do something different. We want independence. So, like, what Nicola Sturgeon's doing is amazing. That's her basically saying, "Throw it to you. We're standing up for our own rights here. We've got our own government. We're our own nation, if you want to play it like this, because we're a separate country. You know, like, we class ourselves as a separate country. We've got our own government and stuff like that. We don't need English rule. We've got total different laws up in Scotland. We govern ourselves with statute law. In England, it's common law. So, like, no, I think what she's doing is good. And if it is to further the agenda for independence, then I'm all for it.
Okay. So you're pro-independence. This is almost a completely different show in and of itself. But the Scottish people had the opportunity to grasp for independence if they want it, and they democratically turned it down. Do you think what's happened now would change people's mind if we reran that once in a lifetime election?
We never turned it down. I think we've touched on this before. I'm telling you now, the Scottish people voted for independence, and I'm telling you now the vote was rigged. And my reasons for thinking the vote was rigged is genuinely I've said this before. There's a naval base in Scotland. If you Google it, Faz Lane Naval Base, it holds England's nuclear weapons. So if Scotland go independent, please believe me, the first thing Scotland's got to do is say, England, you need to take your nuclear weapons back. And England's nowhere to store them. You know what I mean? So, like, the vote was rigged. There's other stuff involved in it, obviously, but I'm telling you, the vote for independence was rigged.
Wow. Accusations on Lessons for Life. What about the Welsh Assembly? Because Wales have also chosen to maintain the lockdown. And yes, in the north of Ireland, in the 6 counties, which is part of the UK, the lockdown is still in place.
The Celts are sticking
Is it the Celtic nations being cautious and the Anglo-Saxons are just all about the money?
Yeah, that's 100%. The Celts are sticking together. Scotland, Wales, and Ireland have all said no. The Celts are sticking together. You know what I mean?
Well, it's great to see a bit of Celtic unity. I'm calling upon the people of Cornwall to show some solidarity as well, because they are also our Celtic cousins. But what other light can you shed, Craig, on Boris Johnson?
There was a new policy brought in. It wasn't Boris Johnson that brought this. This was Matt Hancock, full name. Where is it? Matthew John David Hancock, like a bit biblical there.
Matthew, Mark, Luke.
That's a different topic. Yeah.
We can go there, no problem.
Yeah, well, I know we could, but no, let's try to stay on track. So he brought in a new policy 2 weeks ago where he's saying that PPE that's been used by doctors and nurses must be reused. So basically he's saying if you're going to treat a patient as COVID, that face mask and that gown you're using, you need to reuse it. You know what I mean? This is policy.
Wow. And that again is because
people spoke out against this. Their names are Mino Viz, there's a clinician, and Nishant Joshi is a trainee GP. They've both spoke out about this because there's been 19 doctors and dentists died during this pandemic. I just think Matt Hancock's living in a fantasy land.
This is some superb information, Craig. You've researched it very well. Pleb Enforcement in the chat is asking, have you noticed how Boris claps like a seal?
Yeah. All you need to do is do the sound, innit? I'm sure he can do that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he can. Ben Grant is saying we are in competition with the rest of the world to procure PPE, that's personal protection equipment. And Ben Grant is also alleging that gingers don't have souls. Well,
I'm no ginger, so no Scottish people are ginger.
Not all, no, but apparently more so than in other parts of the British Isles.
Yeah, well.
But why is it?
Irish and that as well.
Well, we're all cousins. But why? It's a shame that we are in competition with the rest of the world. Shouldn't the world be working together? And shouldn't the United Kingdom be pulling in the same direction? You said that Wales and Scotland are doing their own thing. You say that's the right thing. Why are we not all pulling together if we are meant to be the United Kingdom? Is this the breakup?
Oh, listen, the English government do not care about their citizens, man. They don't care, man. It's simple as that. I mean, like, there's always been solidarity with the Celts, the Scottish, the Welsh, and Irish. Always been solidarity with us. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still on the thing is this is depopulation. Like, I don't know. Like, let's not go there. But no, the English government don't care about their people. They don't care.
Well, it might be depopulation as a consequence. Whether it's deliberate or not, we don't know.
Yeah, well, you couldn't up in Scotland as a population, you couldn't lift the lockdown the way Boris took, because it wiped out the fucking nation. It wiped us out. We're not stupid, man. We're not stupid. I'm not saying the English people are stupid, but Boris Johnson's definitely daft, and Nicola Sturgeon's got a brain, and most of the Scottish people, like, there's solidarity there. We stick together, we look after our own, and we know if we don't be cagey with this, it's going to wipe out our fucking nation. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a tactic for Boris Johnson as well, and that's why Nicola Sturgeon's saying no chance. Like, it's not happening. I'm not letting it happen. You know what I mean?
It's me, so it is. In the chat, is saying equality in the union. Well, you can have equality, but there's not the same policy across the union. And Dave Kayani is saying PPE is important. That's true.
Well, obviously, but if you see, listen, I was out in Regent's Canal the other day. Like, as soon as Boris lifted the unlimited exercise rule, I took my kayak and I went up Regent's Canal, and I seen the amount of people that were there, and it's crazy. It's crazy, like, no, I don't know. It's crazy that the guy is going to. I give it 2 weeks, man. I give it 2 weeks and watch the death numbers rise again. Fast.
I hope not. I did look at a graph that shows what happened when the social distancing measures were relaxed after the first wave of the Spanish flu 100 years ago, and the second wave was much, much worse, as we know.
Did that not kill hundreds of millions of people?
It killed more people than the First World War itself.
Yeah, it killed a lot of people. Yeah, the Spanish, and this is worse than the Spanish flu.
It would appear to be, but of course there are more people now. I often wonder, is that a factor? The more people we have, the more people can die, and it's not to do with the numbers of people dying, it's to do with the rate, and I think the number per million would be the relevant, the numbers of deaths per million would be the relevant statistic.
So
Great.
Do you know what that statistic?
Look, I'm going to show you, we're going to watch a video together now, and we can chat as it goes. Hopefully we're going to hear it. I'll run this little video.
Yeah, hopefully I'll tell you.
But to be honest with you, I've always been a bit frustrated by this because
this is death toll, COVID-19 death
toll.
toll.
There's a bit of an undercount going on here. These aren't telling you the full story, and I want to just explain why. Looking at the UK in particular, These numbers just show you the number of people who are dying of COVID-19 in hospitals. So the latest data we have show it's 17,337 hospital deaths in the UK. But that is an undercount. By definition, that's not including deaths in care homes, in private homes. But we are now starting to get a sense of that. And this is what I want to show you, because those official death tolls aren't necessarily what the reality is. We now know that if you're going back over the course of the last few weeks, it was a very different picture when you were looking at all deaths from COVID-19. So deaths with COVID-19 on the death certificate. That's the black line there. Compare it to the white line. There's a difference there, isn't there? How much of a difference? Well, you get a sense if you look back on the 10th of April, we were told by the government back then that in hospitals, 8,958 people had died of COVID-19. Now we know, according to these new statistics, that actually the real death toll around then was 11,413. Wow. So these are deaths across the UK for all from all settings, so including in care homes as well. It doesn't look like that much of a difference, does it? But actually, it represents a 28% undercount. And if you extrapolate that out over the course of the following weeks, because that's kind of a bit in the past, you're talking now about us having a death toll that's not around 17,000. It is around 22,000 deaths, maybe even more. So those official numbers aren't telling you
that's
the
all
full
deaths.
story. We now know that. Yeah. And we also know that even that 22,000 might well be an understatement as well. Why? Because 100%. Let's look at numbers that don't just rely on whether COVID-19 is on the death certificate. We'll look at all causes of death. And this line shows you the weekly average for the weeks of the year. So this axis shows you weeks of the year.
So look, weekly average 15. Coming up.
The weekly average over the past 5 years was that if we had a real problem now, you would expect all-cause mortality to shoot up very sharply. Well, let me add the line for 2020, and well, there we are. You can see very sharp increase indeed. That is up to 18,516 deaths in the 15th week of the year. That represents what statisticians call excess deaths, about 8,000 excess deaths, so above the average you would normally have in that week of the year. 8,000.
Okay,
that's crazy.
That's where we're going to pause it.
Of that 8,000.
Because that is the crucial statistic. Let me just get the mic back in. This puts to bed the conspiracy theorists, nutjobs, who say things like, oh, it's just counting normal deaths as COVID-19 and people that die with COVID-19 are not dying from it. That week, you had 8,000 more people than average, more than you would expect, die from all causes. So that's on average 8,000 people who passed away that would not have had it not been from COVID-19. I'm not being alarmist. I know that people say, don't worry, it's only the elderly. These are the numbers that suggest it is 8,000 people more than you would usually expect.
No, I hope you don't put me in the bracket as a nutter.
No, don't. I don't at all.
The claims that I made last week, I accept the claims that I made that they were just putting people down as corona. I happily admit that I was wrong on that. I take that back. I've done a bit of further research and stuff.
There's an element of that as well. And this is part of the vagueness of not really knowing what's going on and just whacking it on the death certificate. But I'm just showing you the statistics that this is having a huge impact. Whatever it is that's going around, whatever this virus is, it is killing people. We can't imagine that it's not a threat. And I think if we do lift the lockdown too early, we will end up with the scenario that you were speculating about.
So I was doing some research. I've got a couple of quotes here that I've been. So I don't know if people will be familiar with Niall Horan. He's the One Direction singer. He called Matt Hancock last week smug and slippery. So this is a celebrity speaking out against Matt Hancock, and he's calling him smug and slippery. And you've got another quote saying that how can about the PPE, how guidelines are based on supply rather than science.
Yeah.
That was two quotes I picked out, and I thought to myself, especially that one about the guidelines, that's definitely rings true to me. These people, they're just going on supply and demand, and rather than it's money again, that's money again. They're stingy. They don't want to buy it. It's there to buy. They've got enough money to buy the right stuff. They've opened up. They've lifted up this lockdown, and They should have made it mandatory that you must wear gloves and a face mask.
This is a problem with a completely free market economy that depends on demand and profit. You can't dictate what that market will do.
Yeah.
Charlie Williams is saying they are good quotes. Craig is right. They just don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, that's right. They don't want to spend the money. Like, they've got, as I've said before, how can the country be skint when they print the money? It's impossible. They print the money. How can they be skint? They print the money every day.
The thing is, if you just print money then becomes worthless because it is in surplus supply, and there is so much more money out there that people can charge more for their goods.
Yeah, well, they're trying to go contactless now. So what they want to do in my eyes is go contactless society, bring back in all the cash, and I don't want to know what they've got to do with all that money, because please believe me, even if this country goes contactless, all the paper money that's out there still get value. It still get value. I mean, they'll still use that money, and they've got to collect all that money back in off the people, and where's all that money got to go? I don't know. I wouldn't like to think where it's got to go.
Well, do you think...
This is because of COVID, they're talking about all this. So this is my thing. This brings it back to Brexit as well. I think they're just testing and trying to reconstruct the country. But obviously COVID's real. I'm not denying COVID's real, but I think they've grasped this opportunity I think they've jumped on it here. I think Britain's jumped on it. But no Britain, like Boris Johnson, England.
No.
I know I'm targeting, maybe it sounds like I'm targeting the guy, but I'm not at all. Like, I've told you my views, like England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. No, Boris Johnson's all about profit. Tories kill, in my eyes. The Tories kill, simple as that.
Do you think a cashless society would look any different to a cash society? Because the point's been made that this is all part of a drive to do away with cash, and yes, that may well happen. But will that really change anything? Won't the rich still be rich and the poor still be poor?
The rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer, because there's got to be no cash. For how the hell can you hand a homeless person a credit card and tell them to go and spend some money on a bit of food? You can't. If you take all the cash away, there's people got to start dying, because people need access to cash. If there's people out there that they're talking about shutting down post office accounts, and I don't know if it's already happened. So years ago, the people used to have a post office card. That's went away as well. So if you take away cash, there's people out there that haven't got bank accounts and stuff like that. They need access. You need access. A society needs cash. They need cash. Cash needs to be in society. I don't think a contactless society, a cashless society is fair. It'll work, but it's got to hit people hard as well.
Greg, we've got a caller online too. I'm just going to merge the calls and say hello. Who is this? Hopefully you can hear them too. Hello, caller.
Hi. Hello. I just wanted to make a mention about Boris.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your views?
Oh, well, I'm unhappy with what's going on, and how are our neighbours, Wales and Scotland, why is it and how is it even possible for us to be doing the complete antithesis of what they're doing? It just does not make any sense. If I'm in Northern England and I head up to Scotland, a mile here and there, I need to follow their rules of lockdown, and when I'm further down south, I can just continue with my own rules. The whole thing makes no sense, and your caller was, or your guest was saying how it's about the money. Maybe it is, but overall they are losing a lot, but at what cost? No one wants another recession. We remember what happened in 2008 very vividly. I'm one of those people that still hasn't recovered from my property loss back in 2008, all these years later, but still it doesn't make any sense. They are putting our economy ahead of our citizens, and it's just straight up unfair. The whole thing is a confusement. I don't know what to do. Should I stay in? Should I go out? Should I move to Scotland, or what the heck should I do?
I think you should stay in.
Stay in. What you should do, caller, is stay alert. But thank you for your call. Thank you very much. I wonder if let's see what happens if in 6 months Wales and Scotland are not doing very well economically, and England is back to booming. Maybe that caller will eat his words.
Yeah.
But is it the case that Scotland and Wales and certainly the 6 counties in the north of Ireland have always been bailed out by England?
What do you mean bailed out? What do you mean? Giuliano.
Yeah, go on. I've riled you up. I've riled you up.
Scotland get bailed out by fucking England. What do you mean?
How much?
We never get bailed out.
How much does it cost the UK to retain the 6 counties in the north of Ireland every year?
I don't know. But we definitely Ireland's already went independent. Half of the country.
The Republic of Ireland has. The 6 counties in the north of Ireland are part of the United Kingdom, and the rest of the UK spends a hell of a lot of money propping up that part of Ireland. So
what about Scotland? What about Scotland then? So what? Because we definitely don't need England. Like, England need us first. We can make millions by whiskey trade. We've got oil. We've got sterling. We don't need England, man. They're not bailing us out.
Okay. Well, you may well be right. Ben Grant is agreeing and saying Scotland spends billions more in government spending than it takes in taxes. Scotland fends for themselves. That's why they have their own laws. Okay, maybe so. I think my point is stronger on the North of Ireland case.
Yeah, I would need to do some research on that, Giuliano, because I don't really know much about Ireland.
DJ Rustler is calling BS. I wonder in reference to what? Maybe you could elaborate, DJ Rustler. I'm just wondering if these home nations, whatever you want to call them, are taking a gamble because they know that England, good old Uncle England, will bail them out. I know you didn't like that term. It's Miso is saying we can take it shipbuilding when you leave.
Is this talking about Glasgow shipbuilding?
I suspect it's Miso. It is maybe from somewhere near Belfast, where they did have a great shipbuilding. I could be wrong. You'll have to correct me. They had a great shipbuilding industry in Belfast. Of course, that's where the Titanic was built, and many other ships.
So
yeah, but we can't blame that one on Belfast.
I know.
But yeah, I just wonder, is it that Boris Johnson is being more of a risk taker?
Yeah, 100%.
Nicola Sturgeon is being cautious, and he's playing with people's lives. It may pay off financially, but what price can you put on life?
Obviously, it'll pay off financially. If everybody's returning to work, the government's got to, the money's got to start flowing again. So obviously they've got to profit financially. That's why they're doing this, because they want money coming in. The country's been on standstill for how long? Nothing's been opened. People can't buy clothes. People can't get nothing.
Okay.
We start opening the country back up, we're risking another repeat of the 2010 riots.
If we don't open the country back up?
Well, people are getting wound up.
They are. Well, are we?
This is correct information, but I've heard that there's maybe got to be a bit of protest activity happening in central London this week.
Oh, really?
So yeah.
Can I take my camera out for an hour of exercise and possibly capture it as well?
Limited exercise.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Where we can exercise as much as we want. So if I've got my trainers on and I'm jogging around the park, maybe I could film the protest, could I? Because I did see Piers Corbyn, brother of Jeremy and weather expert, get a £30 fine for refusing to move on when the police accosted him. He's very much in favour of lifting the lockdown. He's not agreeing with you, and I'd love to get him on the phone. Piers Corbyn, brother of Jeremy, weather expert, and Do you know what? He gave me his card once with his phone number, and I lost it. But I would like to have a chat with him. I've spoken to him a couple of times at Speaker's Corner. DJ Rustler is saying, take out all English money from Scotland, it would fall to bits. Scotland would be independent if it had a good enough economy.
Who's this? Is this guy dumb? Has this guy been to Scotland?
DJ Rustler, Craig is asking you, have you been to Scotland? He is suggesting that you can't. Charlie Williams is saying, take your camera for a walk, put it on a lead. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, boy. Yeah. Yeah. They and Charlie Williams is mentioning that they have their own pound in Scotland. It's of course the same pound sterling. Sterling is in Scotland. Therefore, the British pound is Scottish in a way, but they have their own banknotes, of course, don't they?
Yeah, that's the way England are, they want to be better than everybody else.
Give us a call on 07491 751 203 if you think England are better than everyone else. And Ben Grant is throwing it back at you, Craig, and he's asking, have you ever left Scotland?
Yeah, I've been in London for nearly 6 years.
There you go. You can take the guy out of Scotland. Blah, blah, blah. Grant is a Scottish name, isn't it? Ben Grant must be a Scot. Is that not a Scottish name?
Well, Grant's a Scottish name.
Yeah. And I think it comes from the French for grand, as in big. Sorry, Ben, we're just extrapolating meanings on your name. And HK Stocks is saying, peace evening all. 37 countries protested over the weekend that I found. Yeah, a lot of people are protesting the lockdown. They are getting unsettled, as you say. Will it be a case of out of the frying pan into the fire? Be careful what you wish for. I remind you of that graphic of the Spanish flu. They all wanted to get out, and then we know what happened after that. Just going to read a little bit of information here. Official figures from statistics agencies higher than government coronavirus tally, which stands at 32,000. Yeah, that's again emphasizing this 50,000 deaths. Evidence is growing that the coronavirus became seeded among the vulnerable and elderly in social care after hospitals discharged sick people into the care system without being tested for COVID-19. That is stupidity, recklessness. Go on, Craig.
Yeah, talking about testing, so like, I can't mention any names obviously, but I know some people that work in the health sector. And one of these people work at a testing station. And I was asking the person today, I said, who's getting tested? The person's saying, frontline workers, people that working in Tesco and stuff. I'm saying, so what about members of the public? The person's saying, oh, they can only get tested if they're symptomatic. So they need to go in and register with some website. I don't know the exact name of the website, but you're supposed to go and register with this website. If you've got symptoms, they'll tell you to come to a testing station. So I've asked the person, I've said, how many people are getting tested at this station each day? And he's saying, oh, yesterday we done 63, the day before we done da. I'm saying, so the government guidelines are saying that if a person is symptomatic with COVID, if they go to this testing station and potentially spread it on to another 63 people.
Wow, that's a good point. My goodness. And what about the test to see if you've had it? Is there any point in that? If
is there a test to see if you've had it?
I believe there's a test to see if you've had it, but we don't know whether you can get it twice anyway.
Yeah, no, like, I don't know. I think there's people out there carrying it and don't even know they're carrying it, and they're just like, because there's obviously some fit people in the world, but you're fit yourself, like, so, like,
thank you very much.
Stronger immune systems and stronger chests and stronger hearts are less likely to catch this. I think, you know what I mean? So, like, they could be carrying this and just because they're so fit and out jogging, they're not even noticing, you know what I mean? And they could be potentially spreading it as well.
Charlie Williams is pointing out you could potentially get it if you have the symptoms, but you don't actually have it. That's
What was that?
you could, I guess you could have the symptoms but not have it. HK Stocks is saying it's awful what's going to happen in the care homes. They failed to protect the elderly. Yeah.
In Scotland as well. One bad thing I will say about Scotland, not a bad thing, but there was a care home up in Scotland. I can't remember the name of the firm, but it's the biggest care home providers in the UK. And there was a care home up in Scotland, and they had something like 80 deaths or something throughout this, and there were people dying every day, and the nurses were coming on the television and getting interviewed and basically saying, listen, they're not doing enough to help. The interviewers asking the nurse, have you been tested yourself? No, I've not been tested. Like, what the hell, man? You've had 80 deaths in this care home, you'll not even test your staff.
Oh my goodness. I believe today they were saying that a quarter of the people that have succumbed to COVID-19 are diabetic as well. So that's another worry.
Well, because people with diabetes are more prone to asthma and stuff like that as well. So diabetes is a big thing to watch for as well.
Yeah. I'm just going to go back to the statistics here.
Yeah.
The 50,979 figure for excess deaths.
So can you pull up the statistics for worldwide deaths?
I haven't got those to hand, Craig. I did have the stats on deaths per million, and the UK was number 4 on deaths per million. Top.
And when was that? When did you look at this?
This was
how long ago?
4 days ago, Sunday.
I wouldn't rely on that, to be honest with you, because I think Britain's in the top just now.
They were number 4. They were number 4 when I checked it. I think the World Health Organization had deaths from COVID-19 in UK at the top. This is okay. The statistics that I had for deaths per million put the worst case is Belgium. Germany. They've only had 8,000 deaths, but because their population is only 11 million, that's the highest. Followed by Spain, predictably followed by Italy, followed by the United Kingdom. France in at number 5, and just below them is Sweden. So everyone's saying, oh, didn't Sweden do really well? BA Fitness was saying how great it was. They didn't have a lockdown in Sweden. Sweden is not far behind the UK in terms of deaths per million.
Graphically, Belgium, you've said Belgium, France,
yeah,
Switzerland, and you've got Britain. These countries are all close together. Like, this infection could be carrying in the air. Like, there's not enough research at this to most say that it could be carried for miles. Who knows? Like, these countries geographically, in my eyes, are really close in it.
I think the real common factor may be how and when they practiced social distancing. That would be my guess, because I've heard if you're going to catch this disease, you're going to catch it from someone else, and they will be in close proximity to you. Yeah. So the 50,979 figure for excess deaths is also higher than the Financial Times model predicted, and the model now estimates that slightly more than 60,000 more people will have died than normal from the start of the outbreak to now. Yeah, and I think that's the number that you want to look at. How many more people have died than normal? Because that completely puts to bed any of the lunacy saying that this is not real, that this is something else. And I think we have to be very, very careful about that. But Craig, I really appreciate you chatting to my friend, and it's always great to get an update from you. You said you didn't want to go down the biblical route with this name, but I would love to go a little bit esoteric. Are there any, if we go carte blanche now, any theories, speculations about what's going on? And I don't care if you haven't got any evidence yet. Just what are you thinking?
About this?
Yeah, about what may be behind this. What could it be? A weapon?
All world leaders, like you've got Matthew. Was it Matthew, John, Daniel, whatever his name is?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Matthew, John, David, Hancock. So Matthew, John, David, Pope John Paul. You've got John Paul. Like there's a lot of people out there.
Ringo.
In power with biblical names.
But yeah, but do you think that there is this? I don't want to.
I don't know. See, I think.
Is there a conspiracy? Is there a conspiracy? There, we said the word.
Yeah. See, when I think like this, when I'm saying these names like Matthew, John, David, Pope, John, Paul. See, when I think like this, it makes me think: is there a God? Or are we just made to believe? And all these names we're seeing are subliminal messages where we'll think Matthew, the book of Matthew, John, the book of John, the book of Daniel, the book of Paul. Is it these people that are really running the world? I mean, I don't know. It's deep. I'm not going to make myself look stupid on your channel.
No. You would never do that. It's me. So it is questioning China. Yeah. Was China to blame for this? Did China make it as a weapon?
100%, man. It's a Chinese virus. I told you this. Wuhan, man. Wuhan province. 2 years ago, they were doing studies on it.
But is it a weapon? Is it something that they have weaponized, or is it accidental?
Whatever. At the end of the day, they were still studying this crap in a lab and it's got out and they kept it quiet, so if it's not a weapon, it's not a weapon. But at the same time, like, why hide it? No, there's something going on. Like, it's a weapon of mass destruction. Look what it's doing, man.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Whether it was deliberate or not, it's definitely causing.
It's too late now to speculate.
All right, Craig. Well, look, I appreciate you chatting to me. I might try and take my camera for a walk at the weekend, if I can safely do so. I would be interested to see what the reaction is on the street.
I can guarantee you, like, I'm not going to say that, but I know myself, for being involved in the activism circle and political protesting, that if this protest goes ahead, the police have got numbers, man. There's a lot of people staying behind their doors in the house. The police are ready, man. Please believe me. And there's got to be a lot of arrests. And I do genuinely think there's a potential for violence.
I hope not. Stay out of trouble, okay?
Yeah, sweet.
Good man. Thank you so
Cheers,
much.
bye.
See you. Thank you very much. Yeah, there goes Craig, star of Rich Kids Go Homeless. You can still catch his episode available on 5 Star. And he came across really well there, and I will be working with Craig in the future. Just looking at these deaths per million. Top of the league, Belgium. 8,000 deaths, 8,843 out of a million people. Belgium goes under the radar very often. We don't get much news from Belgium, but I guess a lot of people travel through Belgium, and not surprisingly Spain. Remember when this was, we keep calling it a Chinese virus, and it came out of China. I think there's a tendency to want to blame China for this, now that we see how much better they dealt with it than all the European. In the top 10 countries, deaths per million from the coronavirus, 9 out of 10, oh no, almost 8 out of 10 are European countries, and you've got Ecuador and the United States in there. So Belgium, worst case scenario, followed closely by Spain, 580 deaths per million. Then Italy, Spain and Italy, we knew that was bad, and the way that they dealt with it. And China has problems. China is not a free country. But what about the freedom to live? And I think most of us would probably rather live in Spain or Italy until there's a coronavirus pandemic. Then ironically, you're better off living in China. HK Stocks is saying the highest expected rate of deaths for COVID-19 in the UK is forecasted by Neil Ferguson, and that's still 20,000 less than the total for flu deaths in 1999. Interesting. I did say we've been here before. We've had this rate of death before, but there is no doubt we are in the thousands above what is for average. And HK Stocks is saying the UK column said that. Well, there you go. I'm not going to argue with that. Italy number 3, followed by the UK, and tragically that may well go up. France after the UK, and then Sweden. And Ben Grant is saying the communist government suppressed the fact it jumped from animals to humans. Okay, maybe that's the problem then. Were they deceptive? And was that to save face? Why would China do that? Did China want thousands of people in other countries to die? Is that what you're suggesting, Ben Grant? I suggest that is what you're suggesting. Sweden, followed by Netherlands, followed by Ireland. So the Republic of Ireland has handled it better than the United Kingdom, or maybe they just have a more rural population. Could that be the case? It certainly, I think, strengthened the argument for a united Ireland and the need to deal with emergencies such as this on an all Ireland basis, which is the only way to deal with most things in Ireland. But if you disagree, and someone in the chat may do, 07491 751 203, that's the number if you're calling from within the UK. And as it stands, Northern Ireland is still part of the UK, as is Scotland. I am interested to see if this bolsters the case for Scottish independence, and we get a re-ignition of the argument for Scottish independence. Are we really about to have another once-in-a-lifetime referendum? I've had enough of referenda. Remember the EU? Remember Brexit and all that debacle? It seems like a lifetime away now. That we did all that, and there would seem to be suggestions that there were opportunities to cooperate with the EU, whether as a member or not, that were neglected, that may have cost lives. So it's all very well having a pop at Boris Johnson. Who knows what Jeremy Corbyn might have done. Certainly, I think he would have been more along the Nicola Sturgeon frame of mind. I think he would have been more cautious. He would have put people before profit. But, ironically, his brother, Piers Corbyn, who is the black sheep of the family, if that's possible in that family, he is very much in favour of lifting the lockdown, and he thinks that it is the lockdown that is costing lives. And the fact that the deaths from all causes are up, we don't know how many people have passed away from another disease because they couldn't get to the medical attention that they require. I mean, I always say that correlation doesn't mean cause and effect, and we've established that thousands of people are dying with COVID-19. We've established that thousands more people than usual are dying in total, although HK Stocks is saying it's not much worse than what was happening in 1999. We can only go with the situation that we've got. We had a lockdown. We had that many deaths. I put it to you that the countries that have had harsher lockdowns, more stringent social distancing measures implemented earlier and implemented more strictly have had fewer deaths. Correlation doesn't mean cause and effect, but it would seem to me that the earlier and the more stringently you apply a lockdown, the fewer deaths you have per million overall from COVID-19 or with COVID-19, however you want to measure it, however you want to call it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have I missed something here? We had people ridiculously suggesting that it was being caused by a certain network internet connection, a number in a letter that I'm not even going to mention. I believe in freedom of speech and the right to say that, but I think we can dismiss these crazy theories now. I think we're homing in on the truth that there's a virus that spreads from person to person. The sooner, the quicker, the more strictly you implement lockdown measures, the quicker you flatten the curve. And we should be very cautious about lifting it. I like Piers Corbyn. I might go for a walk at the weekend, as is my right now, to go for a walk. It doesn't have to be up to 1 hour. I can walk for as long as I want. I just can't walk to Scotland or Wales. And if I stumble upon Piers Corbyn, I'll be very interested to have a chat with him and try to understand what is this other argument. No one's been able to give it to me thus far. And I just want to share with you some of the people around Piers Corbyn were wearing t-shirts and carrying placards that suggested that they believed in some very, very wacky, out there conspiracy theories that I would not agree with whatsoever. I believe they have the right to say what they want to say, but I wonder, has Piers Corbyn fallen victim to perhaps a disinformation campaign? That's a scary thought. HK Stocks is saying so many outlandish conspiracy theories were purposely pushed into the mainstream during February-March to destroy any future information outside the mainstream media. Good tactic. Wow, this is what I'm talking about when I say disinformation. People often like to muddy the water. And when there's so many different conflicting theories all being thrown out at the one time, then it can be very difficult to pick the truth out. As I often say, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Yeah, HK Stocks is saying that's a good tactic. Yeah, it is. It is. I'll try and catch a hold of Piers Corbyn. I regret the fact that I lost his phone number. He gave me his card. That's how much of an old-fashioned guy he is. Here's my card. Send me a fax. But he's a lovely chap. I really get on well with him. But people like George Galloway, who has shared a platform with Piers Corbyn before, are going to be very, very... Well, I think he will have pretty much disowned the guy. And that's a shame that this scenario that we're in is breaking people apart, causing infighting at a time when really we should all be getting together and helping each other. And we said earlier on about competing for PPE. How can you compete for something that's going to save lives? Shouldn't we be cooperating for PPE rather than competing for it? That is one sad state of affairs. What is the world coming to, eh? That we are competing, and now different parts of the United Kingdom, the disunited kingdom, are pulling in different directions. What can we do? And Ben Grant is saying he is on the Twitter. I don't know what that means. Is he and who is he referring to? Who do you mean, Ben Grant? Who are you referring to? Yeah, crazy times. Well, look, people, we've been discussing what Boris Johnson is or isn't doing, how well he may or may not be doing. I think the consensus is he's not doing as well as them ones up in Scotland. Dardasha is saying, Lesson for Life, I'm upset the fact that school can reopen, even if it's small numbers. We should put more safety measures and really make sure it's the right time to go back to school. We have to save lives. Yes. Oh, Ben Grant, you meant Twitter. Yes, he is on Twitter. Piers Corbyn is on Twitter. Perhaps we could contact him via Twitter, yeah. And Dardasha, I agree totally. We can't put a price on a life. And what is it? It's reception. Year 1 and Year 6 have gone back. Saw footage of kids all spread out in the classroom. It's going to be a very strange environment. Get ready for the new normal, people. What kind of a future have we got? I don't know. When will it ever be back to normal? When will we go to concerts again? When will we go to football matches? The kids can't even see people within their own family, but now they're opening schools. Yeah, that's a sad reality. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. It's been my pleasure. And we will do it all again soon. This has been Lessons for Life. We were here. We're gone. Laters.